a video of me putting the money where my mouth is. So I have this theory that when we make dishes like pasta, I'll pronounce these incorrectly, dishes like cacio e pepe, pasta alla Grizia, it's better to use a younger hard cheese because they melt easier than older harder cheeses. And I was kind of thinking, it's just theory. I really should test it out, shouldn't I? So normally when we're making cacio e pepe and those type of pasta dishes, people finely grate the cheese and then slightly mix it in with the pasta water to start the melting process. I just like to grate it into the pan, but I use younger harder cheeses, so that makes sense. So as a cheese ages, it gets harder because more of the moisture is coming out of the cheese. So I bought some 30 month aged Parmesan. Let's have a go with this. And so as you can see, it's around the outside there. That's crust, skin. Forgotten what it's called. That's starting to dry out more. There, rind. It's the rind of cheese, isn't it? Oh yeah, I've been in the garden, so fingernails a little bit dirty. But we're at home, so I'm not that bothered about dirt from the garden going in my food. So that's starting to dry out, and that's harder there than it is there. So I've cooked some pasta in the pan. We have got the sauce. There's some olive oil in there, but as you can see, the sauce is already kind of forming from the starch in the pasta. So all we really have to do is grate in the cheese. So I don't know if this is, it's not that hard to grate. It actually feels pretty good. So I think this will melt in, but it's grating quite easy, is that? So I did weigh it as well, so we know how much cheese is going in. But you can hear those crystals. Those crystals are actually they're not salt crystals. It's bacteria that's crystallized, according to my mate the cheesemonger. And if he says that's what it is, and that's what it is. Yeah, is it going to melt in easier? Turn the heat off. It's not wanting to melt in that easy. I really shouldn't be using tongs in a pan, should I? But it's not really wanting to melt in that much. It's certainly not split, but it's not melting in just quite as easy, which proves my point. So let's grate more in, and then we'll add some hot water in it as well, and we'll kind of see what happens and if we can fix it. So if we just put that over there and then mix round. You really should put the kettle on. I'll pause. Right, so the kettle is boiled. Let's add a little bit of water. Should be really that we're adding pasta water, but I cooked the pasta in the pan, so we haven't got pasta water to add to it. That's not wanting to melt. I can still see the bits of cheese not wanting to coat the pasta in the same way. So obviously you have to melt it, the cheese first, grate it finely, and then melt it in a bowl with some of the hot pasta water, and maybe hold it over the pasta as it cooks to kind of gently heat it through first. So kind of making a sauce in a bowl before we add it to the pan. So I quite like the idea of making it in the pan, probably because I was trained in the French way of cooking, where you cook meat in the pan and then you form the sauce in the pan, you know, from the meat juices, and add a bit of cream and butter and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of like the idea of making a sauce in a pan. Let's just see if we can gently heat the pan just enough that it melts the cheese but doesn't split it. It's only for me, so it doesn't really matter. I don't think this is working. I think a younger harder cheese is a much better idea, especially if you're going to teach yourself how to do things. So a lot of my videos are me faffing around with stuff, and it's me teaching myself how to do things more than anything else, and thinking my way through things, because I think it's very difficult to learn from the internet, because the questions that I want to ask when I'm cooking or when I'm learning something is not something that generally people can answer or think about answering. So my example is, I once had asked a friend who's a butcher to teach me how to do a butcher's knot, and he did it so fast and I couldn't work it out. But he couldn't slow it down doing this butcher's knot to show me how to do it. Or maybe he just wasn't a very good teacher. But so it's kind of melted, but it doesn't want to go any further than that. So that's hot enough. I can see the steam coming off it, so it's hot enough to melt cheese. But it's just, can we get it on camera? There's just flecks of. I don't think it's going to. Can we focus? I don't think we can see that. I'm using my phone. It's not a camera, but it's just not forming, of course, in the usual way that it does. So slightly disappointing, but has proved my point. If it had worked, I was going to do another experiment, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's gone claggy a bit, and that's not because we heated it. That's because the cheese is older and harder, and there's less moisture in it. So, a failure, but a success. So there we go. All part of the learning process, though, isn't it? So there is no real failures, and you learn more through failure than you do through success. But anyway, not to worry, I'm still going to enjoy it, and it'll still be nice. But not a huge. Well, no, it is a success because it's proved my theory right. But I'd quite like to be wrong on this one. And then I could have the excuse of using the older, harder cheeses in my pasta when I'm cooking for myself. Not to worry. But anyway, a success.